Domo domo, what is up everybody? This is official Jujutsu Kaisen translator Steady here, always at the ready here for you guys. Thanks for coming back for another class of Positive Juju. Now I know it's been a while since the last episode of Positive Juju, but that's definitely because anytime I make these episodes, I want to make sure that the stuff that I talk about is of good quality and definitely worthwhile, worth your time. I don't want to just kind of drone on and on about things that I've already talked about or start to kind of sound monotonous. But definitely right now, with everything that's been going on in the manga, we got a little bit of anime news, and it's a new year for Jujutsu Kaisen and for Shonen Jump, and definitely Jujutsu Kaisen, the manga, has already started off on a bang. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. So for today's class, I definitely wanted to give a little bit of an update and my take on the anime news that's been out so far, and set a few things straight as well. Of course, we'll also have a Japanese lesson as well as the JSAT, Jujutsu Kaisen Sorcerer Aptitude Test to test your Jujutsu Kaisen knowledge, so definitely stick around for that. And we're also going to be kind of talking about OKKOTSU Yuta a little bit as well, and what we can kind of assume he's up to right now. We also got a couple of new pieces of information on him in terms of his powers as well. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. And that's definitely going to be in conjunction with the Shibuya Arc, the big twists and turns that we've seen so far in the series. Also, definitely allow me to take this opportunity to say that I've been covering a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen with a lot of visual information and stuff on my YouTube channel, Steady Studios, S-T-E-A-D-Y, space S-T-U-D-I-O-S. So if you just search in YouTube for Steady Studios Jujutsu Kaisen, you'll find videos. Definitely, I do weekly discussions on the chapters now and kind of give my 2 cents about what I think is going on in the series, as well as maybe a few things that you didn't catch when reading the chapter of the week. I've also been talking theories on the channel as well. Anything on the YouTube channel, a lot of it is going to be very up-to-date Jujutsu Kaisen information. So if you're not caught up with the manga, definitely take this as a warning. But if you are caught up with the manga and you want to kind of get the full experience, definitely check that out. I also am going to have these podcasts loaded on the YouTube channel as well. So if for whatever reason you prefer that as a format, or if you want to go ahead and leave a like or comment or anything like that, definitely please do so. That'll probably be a good place to leave your answers if you want to participate in the JSAT, get your guesses going. I also review the latest releases for the Japanese volumes and kind of take a look, a sneak peek at some of the extra pages in there and talk about what you can look forward to. And last but not least, on the channel, I'm also going to be covering Jujutsu Kaisen merch. I got a big haul lately from the crowdfunding project, so hopefully I'll have that up soon. If not, by the time you're listening to this, subscribe so you know when that's up. But that's enough advertisements for now. I know you guys are itching to get right into it, so without further ado, go ahead and take your seats because class is about to start. Let's do this.
じゃ、そろそろ行ってみる？何をって決まってるでしょ。領域展開。
So let's start off with the anime updates, shall we? Everything that's going to be covered here is stuff that's been officially confirmed by Shueisha, things that they've announced, things that we've seen at JUMP FESTA. There's obviously a lot of rumors going around as well. Some very well might end up being true. but I don't want to kind of get ahead of ourselves here and start saying things that may or may not be debunked down the line. That being said, there is definitely a lot of information out there that we can get very, very excited about. Things also maybe that we were expecting that weren't quite released yet. But as far as that kind of stuff, it's really a studio that hasn't been officially confirmed yet. Also, a release date hasn't been confirmed yet. So those are the kind of things that people were maybe expecting, as well as like a trailer at JUMP FESTA. But I think in retrospect, we might have been asking for a little bit too much. Let's remember that this anime just got announced, and to already kind of have a trailer presented to us is maybe a little bit too much, kind of looking back on it now. But the months leading up to JUMP FESTA, there was a lot of exciting news. We are confirmed to have Toho Animation as the production company behind Jujutsu Kaisen. But as I mentioned before, we don't have a specific studio within Toho Animation confirmed yet. Although Toho Animation, kind of the big names would be Production IG as well as Bones. So the studios that created, My Hero Academia, Haikyuu, to name a couple, Mob Psycho. So it could very well be exciting. They also did the Dr. Stone anime, TMS did. So we're definitely in good hands, and we should be happy about that. But I don't want to get too much into that because this is all just very much conjecture at this point. So it could end up being something completely different within Toho Animation. But before JUMP FESTA as well, we were also given the 3 main casts, the Jutsu High Tokyo first years, Yuji, Nobara, and Megumi. We have the voice actors confirmed. Now we'll be going over each voice actor one by one, but you'll have to excuse me if I am a little bit unfamiliar with 2 out of 3. I'm not familiar with the Yuji voice actor and Megumi voice actor, although I did a little bit of research and we'll go over that. But let's start out with Kugisaki, because Kugisaki is going to be voiced by a lady called Asami Seto. And it's funny because this lady Asami Seto, a few months back, I had actually posted something on my Twitter of the voices or voice actors that kind of go through my head when I'm doing my translations, and the voice actor Asami Seto that they picked for Kugisaki actually is the one that I had picked for Maki. So I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I just thought it was kind of an interesting tidbit. It's really because the voice of Maki I always hear as Hojo Miyoko. If you're a fan of Food Wars, there's the one girl who's the kind of the Chinese specialist. Her name is Hojo Miyoko. So Asami Seto does the voice for her, and I just kind of thought of her when I do Maki in my head. But she will be doing Kugisaki. Another notable role that she's famous for is, if you've ever watched Death Parade, highly recommended if you haven't seen it. It's done by Madhouse. Death Parade, it came out, I want to say in 2017 if I'm not mistaken. It's it's a shorter series, about 13 episodes long if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, the main character girl from there, Chiyuki, the one that kind of follows the main bartender, Asami Seto voiced her as well. And I remember loving the performance for both of these characters that I've mentioned, so I'm extremely happy with this casting. And based on the other roles that I've seen her listed for, it seems like she's a very versatile actor, so we have a lot to look forward to, because obviously Kugisaki is going to be a character where their tone kind of changes from chapter to chapter. We're going to have those kind of slower moments where it's kind of a little more of a heart-to-heart, and then we're just going to have Kugisaki's awesome, eccentric moments as well. So I think we can definitely be happy with her casting. And then next we have our main boy, Yuji Itadori. He's going to be voiced by someone called Junya Enoki. So for you JoJo fans out there, Junya Enoki is actually famous for voicing Fugo Pannacotta. So I'm not exactly too familiar with this part of JoJo, but from what I've heard, it's a really awesome character and seems to be a very versatile character as well. So we have a lot to look forward to, kind of similar in terms of like Kugisaki, in terms of the changes in tone, because obviously we'll have those moments where Yuji is kind of showing off his more kind of goofy personality, and then we'll have those very serious moments as well. And from what I gather and what I've kind of seen, the small bits of Panna Cotta, it's going to be a very apt character, voice actor for Yuji. And it also kind of dawns on me that Junya Enoki is also appropriate because of the Ju in his name, of course. Junya Enoki in Jujutsu Kaisen. I know it's silly, but I thought it was worth noting anyways, just kind of a fun joke. But for you Digimon fans out there, Digimon Adventure Tri, he's the voice of TK in Digimon Adventures Tri. I know I kind of grew up watching the more OG Digimon. I love the Digimon movie to this day. I still have it on VHS somewhere around here. But it sounds like he's done a few notable roles as well, so I think we can be very happy about this casting decision as well. And last but definitely not least, we have our boy Megumi Fushiguro, who's going to be voiced by Yuma Uchida. Now, not to take anything away from Yuma Uchida, but it seems like his career is probably the shortest out of the three so far, but kind of based on the roles that I've seen him play, I wasn't exactly too familiar with none of the series that I've seen he's voiced a character in, but I know a basketball series called Ahiru no Sora is very popular these days. I might have to check it out as well, but he voices a character called Hanazono. So for you Ahiru no Sora fans out there, maybe that means something to you. He's listed as one of the main characters of the series, so that's good. At least he's definitely kind of gaining a repertoire in the anime world. So definitely this character is going to be, Megumi's character is kind of going to be the wild card, so to speak, out of the three in terms of performance, but definitely based on the other two castings, we can feel confident, I would say, about this casting decision as well. So another big voice acting reveal we got was for Satoru Gojo Sensei. Now there was a trailer, I don't know if trailer is the right word, but kind of a promotional video series that was released last year for Jujutsu Kaisen, introducing the main cast and kind of talking about the premise a little bit, where Satoru Gojo actually was animated and voiced, and he was voiced by none other than Nakamura Yuichi. Now Nakamura Yuichi is famous for his roles in Haikyuu as Kuroo, the Nekoma captain, as well as, I know a favorite of mine in Dr. Stone recently is Shishio Tsukasa. He's obviously known for a lot of other roles as well, but for anime fans out there, I know he's kind of a fan favorite, and he also very much puts up a quality performance. So he voiced Satoru Gojo in these promotional videos, and there was a lot of kind of buzz going around whether he would reprise his role in the main anime, and indeed we got confirmation at JUMP FESTA, so that's great news. He fits the character perfectly, kind of the more aloof nature of Satoru Gojo, but he can definitely kind of lay down the law and be really cool when he needs to as well. So that takes care of the voice acting news for right now. But JUMP FESTA, there was a lot of buzz going around. They revealed that they were going to have kind of a super stage event for Jujutsu Kaisen anime. And I think a lot of people, and myself included, I'm not going to lie, kind of prematurely thought that there was going to be a trailer release or some sort of kind of video release at least. But alas, we did not get that. However, at the event, they did release an awesome piece of key visual art. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely look it up. The color scheme is really interesting. It's kind of like this neon green with this pink. The Sukuna finger is pink, and you have in the background Yuji with his tongue out. And it's kind of like this neon green, and it's very stylized, the art style, which I'm a huge fan of. So if they're going to kind of go with that concept, kind of be a little bit more creative and risky in terms of the art style, I'm all down for it. I know as Jujutsu Kaisen manga fans, a lot of us are thinking that if they go a little bit too conservative on the anime, that's definitely something that could really hold it back, and we don't want. So I'm all for them just kind of going for it, even if it's a little bit more, I don't know if niche is the right word, but not going too mainstream. I think that would be a very good thing. Even if it's at the expense of kind of more of the mainstream viewers, just go hardcore on it. But anyway, so there was no trailer released at the Super Stage, although we had the main voice actors on stage, the 3 first years, as well as Satoru Gojo. And we also were treated to AKUTAMI Sensei, apparently. Now, I haven't seen the videos or anything like that on it, but I was told, kind of doing my research, that AKUTAMI Sensei kind of came out in a box from kind of like a booth, which is supposed to be like a curtain, you know, like in the manga, the thing that blocks the sorcerers going in and out and all that. But so AKUTAMI Sensei is very much shy about their identity and wants to keep that a secret, which I very much respect. And obviously it begs the question, there's also a discussion about whether AKUTAMI Sensei is a guy or a girl. And not that it really matters whether they're a guy or a girl, obviously, but it's also, you know, kind of fun to talk about. I always had thought that they were a lady based on the kind of the content of the manga, just kind of my exposure to it. I always thought the kind of more, you know, sensibilities of the manga maybe were more attuned with a woman, but it seems at the event, AKUTAMI Sensei did a live drawing and was even speaking as well. And based on those points, apparently the hand was of a guy, the voice was a guy as well. Now this is still not, I guess, 100% confirmation either. There's kind of a conspiracy theory that that this was a cover-up or things like that. This is nothing official. I mean, to be honest, I really don't know either. I've never met AKUTAMI Sensei or have been fed any information on AKUTAMI Sensei or anything like that. But it's just kind of interesting because there's been kind of evidence in the past that suggests maybe that AKUTAMI Sensei was a lady because of like self-portraits drawn as a lady. Even the recent event in Tokyo, kind of the art gallery, the self-introduction portrait, look it up on the internet. AKUTAMI Sensei has drawn themselves as a woman, so it's kind of interesting to see that and how it contradicts to what we saw at JUMP FESTA. But anyways, it doesn't really matter, and if anything, it kind of, the buzz is a good thing, right? When it comes to stuff like this, if people are kind of asking questions and getting curious about Jujutsu Kaisen as well as the mangaka, that's a very good thing in my opinion. Creates that buzz. So there were a few things talked about at the JUMP FESTA stage, Jujutsu Kaisen stage. Really kind of basic things about the series. Voice actors asking AKUTAMI Sensei some questions. I don't want to go into too much detail because there are kind of mixed reports as well as in terms of what was asked and what wasn't asked. I saw some rumors or some reports that apparently the voice actors had asked AKUTAMI Sensei whether their characters would live to the end of the series. Kind of a real whoa kind of question, and AKUTAMI Sensei had answered by saying, well, it's either going to be one character that lives and everyone else dies, or one character that dies and everyone else lives. Which I have no idea what that means, but apparently as soon as AKUTAMI Sensei had answered that, the crowd just, there was like this huge like, oh my god, in the crowd. And so that's what I was told anyways, and it seems based on kind of the multiple reports that I saw, it's true. So perhaps this is a little bit of foreshadowing on AKUTAMI Sensei's part. But it seems like the event was successful to kind of get the word out there that this anime is happening. There's, if you've been following recently, there's a lot of advertisements for the anime as well as the volume releases. They had huge posters and screens all over Shibuya Station recently, which is so cool. I mean, for a series that young, they're really kind of going all out on the advertisements and stuff, so that's good news. But that's really all the anime news that I can confirm for now. I might have missed a couple things here and there, but I definitely do want to kind of remind the fans, let's be really thankful. This is a series that's not even 2 years old yet, and we already have a bunch of awesome volumes. We have a couple of novels, all these little extras and stuff, and an anime coming out this soon for a series this young. We're very much spoiled. So let us be thankful instead of saying, we didn't get this or we didn't get that or hurry up this. We should really be thankful, and I remind everyone not to get ahead of yourselves too much, and myself included. But let us move on from anime news and get into the next topic, shall we? Alright, let's get ready for another edition of the JSATs, the Jujutsu Sorcerer Aptitude Tests. So I'm going to go over the answers from last time's JSATs and then give you a fresh batch, 3 new questions for you guys to ponder on. And I definitely invite you to comment on the YouTube video your answers. And please do your best not to look these up before you answer, or if you want to look them up and answer, like, go ahead. I guess it doesn't really matter, but thanks for participating if you choose to do so. And let's start with last time's answers first. So question number 1 from last time was a question about the volume covers, and I specifically talked about volume 2 and who appears on it. So I said that Megumi, Fushiguro Megumi, appears on the cover, but he's also joined by another character whom at first glance you can't really, you might kind of skip over or not really notice, but upon closer look, Fushiguro Megumi is indeed sharing the cover with Nue, the kind of chimera bird that he uses, based on a famous Japanese kind of chimera that has a monkey face, tiger body, and snake tail, if I'm not mistaken. Although Jujutsu Kaisen's interpretation is a little bit different. It's more kind of like a bird, right? So answer to number 1 was Nue. Good job if you got that one right. Let's move on to question number 2 from last time, the answer. So the question was on Todo Aoi, fan favorite of everyone, obviously. But it was a question on his scar. So he has a very noticeable scar on his face that's covering an eye. And I asked whether it was on his right side or his left side. And the answer is the left side. It's kind of like this vertical slash almost that's going kind of from the top of his forehead all the way down to almost kind of almost to the mouth level, but kind of straight down. I'd be curious whether they're going to have a backstory on Todo or something, maybe even with Tsukumo, who we now know to be that blonde-haired lady. Maybe they'll talk about that and reveal what the scar is all about. So, but anyways, the answer is the left side. Good job if you got that one right. And then the last one is going to be the always the kind of the little bit more trickier one. And I asked for question number 3 that Toge, Inumaki Toge, second year of Tokyo High, only speaks in rice ball or onigiri ingredients. And although AKUTAMI Sensei has said that a lot of these are just kind of gibberish, they have also confirmed that Toge does use a specific word when agreeing or saying yes, and that ingredient is salmon, or in Japanese, shake or sake. So anytime Inumaki is saying salmon in the manga, it's because he's agreeing or kind of like saying yes. It's a positive affirmation. So congratulations if you got that one right, a little bit of a tougher one. But let us move on to our new batch of questions, shall we? Are you ready? Let's do this. So question number 1, 第1問. The Goodwill event held between the Tokyo school and the Kyoto school is always held in 2 rounds. First round is the team battle that we saw in the forest, and typically the second round would be a individual battle, traditionally speaking. However, this year's was interrupted by special curses and cursed users. However, the show must still go on, and after things were kind of taken care of, the second round ended up being a sports battle. So what was the sport of choice in this friendly sports battle? It was one of the funniest chapters, if you ask me, in the series so far. Obviously, AKUTAMI Sensei, a comedy god at this point. And I know I'm a big fan of this sport as well, so I was really happy to see it come to life. Seems like AKUTAMI Sensei is a fan of this sport as well. We've seen multiple references. Alright, let us move on to question number 2, 第2問. When we're first introduced to Yuji Itadori at the beginning of the series, before he goes to Jutsu High, he's part of a special school club. What club was it? Now, Yuji is obviously known for his crazy physical prowess, but he ends up joining this club instead. So what was that club? Alright, let us move on to question number 3, 第3問. Now this is the little bit of a trickier one, and I don't know how tricky it'll be for you guys. I know you guys are really good at this, but maybe it'll get you scratching your head a little bit at least. So during the Yasuhachi Bridge arc, Yuji and Nobara end up fighting reincarnated special grade cursed objects called the Cursed Womb Death Paintings. They end up fighting Eso as well as Kechizu, and there's also one more, Choso, who we're quite familiar right now in the Shibuya Arc. But these are only 3 of the Cursed Womb Death Paintings, so I ask you this. How many Cursed Womb Death Paintings in all are there? So remember, from what we understand, Mahito only stole 3 during the Goodwill event and the chaos going on, but we kind of learn in the backstory with the death paintings that there are indeed more. So how many in total are there? Alright, I hope you guys like those questions. Not too easy, not too hard, I hope. At least something a little bit fun. And of course, definitely if you want to participate and let me know that you're enjoying this, definitely go ahead and comment on the YouTube video page if you would like. Alright, that's enough for the JSATs. Put your pencils down and take a break. Come on back so we can get on to the next topic for the day. Alright, so our next topic at hand is going to be talking about the Shibuya Arc a little bit, as well as more specifically Yuta OKKOTSU and kind of the revelations that we've had about him. If you're more curious kind of on the proceedings of the Shibuya Arc, what's been going on, and more on the Geto side of kind of the, you know, the big reveal with Geto as well, I have a YouTube video on that specifically and kind of on my theory on who the identity is. Long story short, I think it's actually Noritoshi Kamo, and I know you're thinking, what the heck does that mean? But check out the YouTube video and you'll know what I'm talking about. So I've already covered kind of the Shibuya Arc in depth in terms of my weekly discussions on YouTube channel as well as Geto, but I wanted to kind of address Yuta OKKOTSU here, the protagonist of Volume 0, and I know a lot of readers are also not very familiar with Volume 0 yet, and that's completely fine. You actually don't have to have read Volume 0 to have the main story right now in Jujutsu Kaisen to make complete sense, although obviously it does make kind of a lot more kind of dense, I would say, but you don't have to have read it to really follow along. So a little bit of backstory for those of you who are unfamiliar with this character and how it applies to our main story right now. So at Tokyo High, there's actually 4 second-year students. So the ones that we're very familiar with in the main story are obviously Maki, Panda, and Inumaki, but there's also a 4th one, and his name is Yuta OKKOTSU. Now Yuta is considered a special grade Jujutsu sorcerer along with Geto, Tsukumo, the blonde-haired lady, as well as, actually I don't know technically if she's blonde, she might have white hair if I'm honest, but the 4th being Geto. So these are the 4 special grade Jujutsu sorcerers in Japan anyways. The way that Gojo has kind of mentioned this topic, he almost makes it sound like the fact that he specifically says in Japan, we almost can assume that there might be more Jujutsu sorcery in the world, which would be a very cool concept, and I hope they explore that, and there are more special grade sorcerers out there. But anyways, in Japan it's these 4, and obviously Yuta OKKOTSU being the youngest, he's still a second year at Tokyo High, but he has incredible power about him. Now, from what we understand with Volume 0, he hasn't been doing this sorcery thing for a very long time at all, actually. So I don't want to spoil too much about Volume 0, just in case you do plan on reading it once hopefully it does come out in English. But for our topic's sake, we are told a lot about kind of Yuta and his power in terms of how powerful he actually is, but we're not really given specifics in terms of what his curse techniques and stuff are until very recently in the main story. Now obviously if he's going to be classified as a special grade, his curse technique has to be very strong, and we are indeed confirmed by the fake Geto that he has an ability where he can copy other people's curse techniques unconditionally. Those are the words that he uses in chapter 90. Now this fake Geto also goes on to say that a lot of Yuta's abilities are heavily reliant on this special curse called Rika. So again, I don't want to spoil too much, but that Yuta might be in a position right now where his abilities aren't quite what it used to be. And indeed right now we're not really too sure what's going on with Yuta, although we are kind of told offhand that Yuta is in Africa with Miguel being a former colleague of Geto, and it seems that they converted him somehow. But I really wanted to talk about his power and what it kind of might mean for the story, and talk a little bit of theory, shall we? Now I know when I was translating this chapter, one of the first characters that really came to mind in terms of copying abilities, if you've ever watched the NBC show Heroes, Peter Petrelli, the main protagonist, he has an ability where he's able to copy another person's special power and use it for his own, although there are kind of conditions that come along with it where he's only able to use like one at a time or for a certain length of time, or it's not as powerful as the original user. But from what we're told in chapter 90, it seems that Yuta might actually be able to use it unconditionally, as it was mentioned. So what does this mean? What do you guys think it means? It's really quite hard to say what the kind of conditions or the limitations might be for this, but the fact that AKUTAMI Sensei said unconditionally makes me think that it is quite powerful and there aren't too many strings attached, so to speak. Perhaps Yuta will indeed be able to copy another person's ability as long as they're within, the other person is within proximity. So if he decides to copy someone else's power, he can't use it once that person leaves or something like that. But as long as they're in the area, and obviously from what we've seen with AKUTAMI Sensei, there could be very kind of detailed circumstances as well, like it needs to be within a 200-foot radius or something like that. That's certainly not out of the realm of possibility from what we've seen in terms of the technicalities of battle and the powers in Jujutsu Kaisen. And of course, this also begs the question, how many curse techniques can he use at a time? Can he combine them? If there's multiple Jujutsu sorcerers, would he be able to use them together? Although I guess there aren't really too many cases where you would actually combine curse techniques, so it could very well be the case where he's just able to use multiple curses but just kind of uses them one after another, so to speak. Like if you were around Nanami and Todo, maybe he could do Todo's boogie woogie, move around, have that mobility, but then use like Nanami's 3/7 strike at the same time, in kind of the same battle. That would be really powerful and that would be amazing. So I'm going to be kind of curious in terms of what the limitations are going to be. I have a feeling it's going to be something along the lines of what his body can actually manage physically. Let's say, for example, in My Hero Academia, if you're familiar with the series, there's a character called Monomaneta. And he has the ability to kind of copy abilities and stuff, but it's kind of suggested that he's only able to do what his body is able to kind of manage. Like Monomaneta wouldn't be able to use Deku's One for All power because his body doesn't have the physical resistance to using that much strength at one time. So in the case of Jujutsu Kaisen, let's say OKKOTSU Yuta is around Gojo. Perhaps he could use Gojo's abilities like the Limitless and use kind of Gojo's barrier technique. But since he doesn't have the 6 eyes, he wouldn't be able to manipulate it as well as Gojo can. From what we understand, Gojo is able to use and utilize the Limitless very effectively because he has the 6 eyes. Of course, when we're talking about powers in Jujutsu Kaisen, there's also the domain expansions. So is he able to copy other people's domain expansions as well? That would be a very interesting question, But like I said, a lot of this is very much kind of at conjecture at this point, so it'll be curious to see, but obviously he's still classified as a special grade, and when we saw him in Volume 0, it was still very much kind of early stages of Yuta, even though he had this incredible power and he's kind of had it stripped from him. He didn't really have much training at the time either, so maybe now hopefully he's been trained a lot and taught how to use his powers, and perhaps knowing that he can copy other people's abilities, perhaps he's kind of become acquainted with the other students at Tokyo High, other students at Kyoto High, and he's kind of learned other people's powers and he's been able to kind of effectively use it. Again, this is all under the assumption that he's able to copy someone's ability and just kind of hold on to it. So that's going to be kind of the question, right? Whether he's able to hold on to this power or it goes away once that person goes away as well. So where exactly is Yuta right now? Obviously, like I mentioned before, he seems to be in Africa for some reason, obviously on a mission perhaps, or who knows, maybe it's a special mission. It seems that he's been away for quite a while, because ever since Yuji's come to the school, it's already been a few months, but Yuji hasn't even met him either, so he's been gone for at least a couple months. So what would take that long? And obviously a lot of fans are itching for him to come back, and I think, especially with kind of the mention of him in the recent chapter, that hopefully we'll see him soon. We also have, you know, chapter 100 creeping up soon, and maybe that'll be kind of a landmark chapter for AKUTAMI Sensei to reintroduce our character. Gojo kind of seems to be in trouble, and if Gojo is indeed successfully sealed away, then we're going to have that kind of big power balance out of whack now, right? The safety net, so to speak. Remember, I made the prediction that he was going to be sealed, and it looks like it might be the case. So we're going to need to kind of restore that balance a little bit, and who better than someone like Yuta Okkotsu to do his superhero landing and come on in and perhaps save the day a little bit. It seems like he's still holding on to his sword as well. So perhaps he's going to be able to manipulate this sword a lot better. And of course everyone likes a character with a sword, so that'll be really cool to see. We obviously have cursed tools. Maki's obviously a great user of it. We saw Todo with the Playful Cloud, kind of the 3-section staff as well. Megumi has used cursed tool as well, but it seems Yuta is very much a master at them now, obviously learning from Maki as well. So it'll be interesting to see what this character is all about. Obviously, AKUTAMI Sensei has made a point to say that this character is indeed very strong, and it's going to be a big role in the story to come. So hopefully we'll see him soon. What are your guys' thoughts? When do you think he's going to come back? What do you think his power is all about? Let's also remember that during the Goodwill event arc, Todo is very adamant about having Yuta fight. It seems that in the previous year's Goodwill event, Yuta just wiped the floor with everyone. So he was essentially powerful enough to be able to take out someone like Aoi Todo, and it suggested that not just Aoi, but everyone else kind of at the same time, that it was pretty much a one-sided battle with him against Kyoto School. But that's enough about Yuta for now. A lot of this is obviously just still kind of conjecture at this point, but it's interesting to talk theories, and I'd be curious to hear what your guys' opinions are as well. Go ahead and comment them in the YouTube video. But let us move on to our Japanese lesson for the day. Alright, so for today's Japanese lesson, we're going to be looking at chapter 74, right in the middle of the flashback arc, where the fight between Gojo and Toji. So I'm going to do a little 1-2 punch here, actually, because these panels are right after another, and these are two great phrases that I really think you can use in your Japanese repertoire. So Gojo has seemingly come back from the dead, and he intercepts Toji on his way out after delivering Riko, and he's got that crazy look on his face, and then he first says yo, which in Japanese, yo, where we just translated it straight as yo. It's basically yo in Japanese can also be like a hey or a yo, like what's up kind of thing, so we translated straight just as yo. But this phrase right after that, he uses hisashiburi. Hisashiburi. Hisashiburi in is Japanese for long time no see. So this is obviously a phrase that you can use a lot, and obviously a nice way to start off a little reunion or a little get-together with a friend that you haven't seen in a while. So if you ever find yourself in Japan, or you have a Japanese friend outside of Japan even, just go ahead and say hisashiburi to them. That means long time no see. But obviously this catches Toji by surprise, and then Toji replies by saying majika. Majika is like for real? Like, are you kidding me? No way. Majika. Maji is literally in Japanese like serious or like true. So when someone says majika in Japanese, that's basically kind of like what, you're kidding me, like for real. So we did translate it as for real in the English chapter. And a little funny thing after that is Gojo replies by saying o maji in Japanese. O is big, and then maji, what we were saying before, o maji, like big serious. So this was kind of a cool little opportunity to use for real. So that's how we translated it into English. So let me go over this conversation real quick again in English first, and then you can hear it back in Japanese, and hopefully it connects a couple dots for you. Alright, so starting off with Gojo. Yo, long time no see. And then Toji replies by saying, for real? And then Gieto, for real. So now in Japanese. Yo, hisashiburi. Maji ka. Oh, maji. Alright, so as always, just keeping it nice and tight, nice and concise. Little Japanese lesson for you. These are definitely phrases, both hisashiburi and majika, that you can definitely use in Japanese repertoire, and you'll hear a lot in anime as well if you listen to Japanese anime. Again, I always invite you to comment in the YouTube video if you hear it somewhere, or if you end up using it in one of your Japanese conversations. Definitely let me know. I'm always happy to hear those kind of things. Alright, so that's the Japanese lesson for today. Hope you liked it. So let's move on to the next part of the podcast show. Alright everyone, so just a few final words before we wrap up today's positive Juju. I want to say thank you, obviously. Thank you first for your patience between episodes. I know it was quite a while between episodes of positive Juju, but I really appreciate you guys checking this new episode out. And now that things are definitely getting exciting in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, both the manga and the anime, I'll be probably have more material to talk about. I'm still not going to be on a regular schedule, which is why I remind you to definitely subscribe so you know as soon as a new episode comes out. Like I mentioned, I most likely will be covering anime as well, maybe split up Positive Juju kind of into an anime segment and a manga segment, invite more people into the world of Positive Juju, but I'll be sure to keep you guys updated on that and how the format is going to work. And if you are a big fan of Jujutsu Kaisen, obviously I mentioned it a little bit before at the beginning of the podcast that I do have a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen material on my YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel is called Steady Studios, STEADY space STUDIOS. And if you put in Steady Studios Jujutsu Kaisen, it should come up right away. A lot of visuals and stuff too. I don't just talk in my face and talk. I make sure to have a lot of visuals going on as well. So I do weekly coverage of the new chapter, give my take on that, and kind of a perspective from the translator, and definitely a few things that I don't want to toot my own horn, but maybe things that your average fan wouldn't notice. I'll have like merchandise unboxings. I'll also have kind of theory videos as well, and not just Jujutsu Kaisen, other manga, as well as like Japanese snack reviews and things like that. So all sorts of fun things. Now this episode will also be up on YouTube as well, so if you want to participate in the JSAT, let your answers be known, go ahead and comment on the YouTube video. I'll have sneak peeks at the Japanese volume releases as well, so if you're interested in what kind of extras there are in there or what the volumes cover in terms of chapters, definitely take a look at that. But otherwise, I definitely want Positive Juju to be something that the listeners are definitely interested in hearing, listening to. So if you have any suggestions as far as topics that you'd like covered, questions or anything like that, I'll do my best to kind of sneak them into the podcast. Definitely the more material that I have, the more I'll be able to put these out. So don't be afraid to let me know if you have any questions. Obviously it'll kind of be up to my discretion whether those topics are things that I can talk about without kind of getting in trouble. So definitely do keep that in mind when asking questions, but definitely let me know what kind of stuff that you guys are interested in if I haven't already covered it on Positive Juju or my YouTube channel or Twitter, for example, or if you'd like me to kind of clarify any of those points. Alright, so that's another class in the books, class 004. This is definitely an exciting time to be a Jujutsu Kaisen fan, and obviously those of you listening here today are the OG fans, and we should be proud of that. So definitely 2020 is going to be an awesome year for Jujutsu Kaisen, and I can't wait to share that experience with you guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, for leaving reviews on the podcast if you're listening to Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, all that kind of stuff, or leaving comments, likes on my YouTube. And if you do know other people who like Jujutsu Kaisen as well, if you have mutuals, thank you very much for sharing it with them. But otherwise, that's it for today's class. No homework today. Go home, enjoy, play some games. But otherwise, we'll see you next time in another class of Positive Juju. You know how we do. Mata yoroshiku!
O tsukare sama sa!